I love the old building.
Right.
I think it's beautiful, and I'm glad we're preserving it.
Yes. Do you remember walking up those front stairs and how big they seemed at the
Yes, I
time?
do, and I remember sitting around there was a little fountain, and we would go out there at lunchtime and sit and have candy bars and things probably we didn't need to have.
Right, exactly.
And Leslie Howard came fresh out of college.
Oh, she did.
And she was not much older than we were. I did not have her as a teacher, but I loved her dearly.
Did she teach speech then, or
I think
was
she
teaching
taught
English?
speech, and I'm not sure what else she taught. She put the plays on in the high school.
What about Mildred Neville, I believe it was at the
Neville.
time?
She was a darling, and of course, she was very young also, and she started dating Glenn Dosser, and all the kids thought that was really neat because we'd watch them kind of flirting and holding hands and whatnot going down the hall. The boys liked to tease Mildred because they would make her cry.
Oh.
And I thought it was very ugly, but you know how boys were at that age. They were kind of ornery, so they didn't mean it to hurt her, but they loved to see her cry.
Talk about those
The clubs.
The clubs.
The Merry Madcaps and the Vagabonds and the Subdebs. I was in those. But they met after school in the homes. I remember one incident. Do you want that? I remember one incident. There was we were in a home, and the mother was listening to us. Someone had put up a name to be voted on as a member in some organization, one of those. And somebody blackballed her. And the mother came in and interrupted us and said, "You girls need to learn now to think very carefully about things like that." And I remember where we were and all about it because I was very impressed. And I thought we did need that coaching back then. And I was glad that she took the time and the bother to come in and tell us that, because people can be cruel.
What about your summer sojourn to Medicine Park?
Yes, we went to Medicine Park. There was a hotel out there that it burned while we were still young. But it had a dance floor, and we would go out on the weekends and dance to the Nickelodeons.
Sometime you indicated that you all went out for a week. Was that to Medicine Park?
That was to Medicine Park. We would rent a cabin out there from different people in Lawton that owned them. And the girls in the club would pay so much. We would have a chaperone, and we would help her cook all the meals. We had already bought all the groceries. And we would stay a week. We took our bedding and our clothes, and we were responsible for keeping up with those things. And I remember being at one of those house parties, that we called them house parties. Some of us, the boys, came out to see us, and we walked over to Mount Scott. There was not a road up there, but we climbed to the very top and back down and walked back to Medicine Park.
What kind of clothes did you wear to school? What was it? Was there a dress code?
We wore saddle Oxfords, skirts and blouses, and sometimes we'd have baggy, large sweaters over the blouses with the little collars out. We had hair ribbons in our hair. And I remember we did not polish the saddle Oxfords. And my father did not like that. He believed in seeing yourself in the mirror through the shoes. But he let me go without polishing them because that was the thing that all the girls did. We never did wear slacks. That was just not done then. The boys wore dress pants and shirts, and the shirts were tucked into the trousers, and they had a nice haircut. Some of the football players wore mohawks.
And that was okay
And that was okay.
because they were athletes.
Yeah, I loved it. I was very excited that I was in high school, and you know, it was a small. Lawton was a small town,
Right.
so you knew a lot of people, and the school was small. We didn't have all the students that they have now, and you knew almost all of the students, and it was a close-knit family in school, and that I remember. We were close to the teachers, and you know, we enjoyed them most of the time. We enjoyed them.
Who was your boyfriend that you keep referring to at that time?
Probably John Kinmonth.
Well, let's talk about John Kinmonth, who became your husband. You became his
he
wife.
became my
Okay,
husband.
tell me a little bit about John and his background and his family.
He was in school with me, in high school with me, and I have to tell you, I met him falling down the junior high school steps, and he picked me up and walked me home.
Oh,
It was wonderful. I loved it. Of course, I have many friends in Lawton, and I love all of them. Like I say, there was the grocery stores. We didn't have big supermarkets like we do now. There were grocery stores, small ones, a few of them downtown. There were some in the neighborhoods. And there was one rather large one for Lawton, and Robert Sprague owned that. And I remember the farmers used to come in on Saturdays nights, and they would go to the midnight movie, and then go to Sprague's grocery store and buy their week's supply of groceries and go home.
and then go to
So they were out late. And most of the grocery stores that were downtown, you could phone in your order and they would deliver it for you.
Neat.
Times have changed. For graduation, there were 2 of our classmates that had died,
Oh,
and they didn't get to graduate with us, but they had an empty seat for both of them in the auditorium the night that we received our diplomas. It was sad because you couldn't help but to think about them, that they didn't get to have the fun that we had enjoyed. I thought the graduation ceremony was very touching. It was mixed emotions. It was an exciting time, but it was a sad time because you wondered if you'd ever see some of those students. Some of them you knew you would, but some of them you wondered what would happen, where they would be in your lifetime. And some of them I have seen quite a bit of, and some I haven't.